Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and today we're here with a video on whether or not Piety is worth it in old school RuneScape. Clicked away from my screen, gotta get back there. There we go, back at it. I'm personally someone that likes slaying a lot. I've done Slayer on basically all my accounts. I used to slay way too much and I would overly focus on it. And Piety is something I've kind of done on and off, and I've also done a video on it in the past. However, I didn't go that in depth, and now I feel like I definitely have done a much better job at dissecting it, and prices vary, things change. I mean, it's been a while anyways. But yeah, I'm happy to go through whether or not it is worth it to pay for prayer when you are doing Slayer. So let's get into it. So just some little talking points before we get into the comparison. I always like to, talk about some things I know could be mentioned. The first one is prayer flicking. Yes, that exists. If you want to absolutely kill your hand, not really, but it's no fun in my opinion. You can flick prayer. That's up to you. That eliminates the whole hassle of this video. Just go and flick prayer to your heart's desire and you'll be okay. Also, as far as how I got these testing rates, I tested them all on one account. I tested one account at 10 different monsters, and then I used a DPS calculator to get that down to what you could expect for a lower level. So if you guys want to use that DPS calculator, it's a very helpful tool for anything, in relation to PVMing. I will leave a link for that down below. As far as the two different account builds that I'm assuming, the first one is a med level, but it's still a good account build, no doubt, and that is one with 80 attack, strength, and defense. Defense doesn't really matter. Matters a little bit in terms of gear, but the account builds are very similar. One just has a prayer type build to it, while the other one's going for a little bit more defense and melee strength. The proselyte gear is going to be really what you want here, and that is what I have on the prayer side. And then as far as the high level setup, I'll be assuming 95s in your melee stats, and basically a max setup for Slayer. It is not maxed by any means, but it is close. And yeah, it might be a little high level, but honestly, I don't really think that people are going to be using Piety too much before they're level 80s in melee, so that's why I just don't account for it too much. But obviously, as long as you're close to the stats, your results will be somewhat similar. And then in regards to what weapons I use for which tasks, there's a nice little picture up on screen now. The bludgeon for 2, the arclight for 4, and the whip for 4. That also shows all the tasks that I did. Essentially, just meleeable tasks that I think people do a lot of, that are basically throughout level 80s and 90s of your melees. The Abbey Demon's basically the highest one, but I still have it in here just because it's, about the real first good melee unlock through Slayer that you just kind of camp. So those are the tasks and the weapons. As far as my prayer consumption, I'm assuming about 350k GP per hour is going to pay for all the prayer pots that we're going to need. If you're higher prayer, if you're up towards 90, 99, it can actually come down to close to 200k, and that is going to affect these rates a lot. So if you have a really high prayer, definitely tend towards maybe cutting these rates you'll see it by 30-40%, because that is going to help. Now granted, it is a lot of money to get to that high prayer, so it's not necessarily free by any means. And also, these rates assume that you will be praying the corresponding overhead for whatever you're killing. It does negate the need for food, so there's a little bit of a hidden bonus, I guess, to this 350k. It could be closer to 330, 310, depending on the types of tasks you're doing, but I just assume 350, so definitely tend downwards on these numbers. This is as high as it's going to get. So to find out whether or not it's worth it, we have to, find the rates, and that is what I did. So this is the lower level rates that you can expect, the 80s in melees with no Piety. It's about a base 20k, a little bit above or below that, depending on the monster. The demons tending to be a bit higher because of the arclight. Then with Piety, we can see that the rates go up a good bit, nice little boost to mid 25s to 30k on the high end. And then with 95s without Piety, it's about what you would get with 80s with Piety. Little higher, about the same ballpark though. And then finally 95s with Piety, you can expect a pretty good increase. It's not as sizable as the increase with 80s is, but it's still a pretty good increase and keeps you about over 30k for all those tasks. Alright, so now we'll bring up the minutes saved slide, and essentially this is your XP rate bump with Piety, how many minutes you saved from going the long way without Piety. The minutes saved vary between 10 to 20 depending on the monster for the Piety setup at a low level, and assuming that 350k is how much you spend on that time, averaging close to 14-15 minutes, that means that this is what your time per hour is actually worth for these tasks. So is Piety worth it? it's really up to you whether or not you can make more than this number of GP per hour at an outside moneymaker. Then it's worth it to, you know, go to that outside moneymaker, make your money, then spend it on prayer potions for Slayer, because you'll save yourself time that is worth that money that you spent, again, if you can make over that amount. So that's the gist of it. So for low levels, it seems to vary between 800k, which Abbey Demons you're probably not going to be doing too much of, but basically 800k to 2 mil. And I do account for the extra drops you'll be getting, because the more of them you kill per hour, the more drops you'll get. So I did account for that. That's why Abbey Demons are the lowest on the list as well. And then moving to the 95 setup, where you're using Piety as well. Again, you're spending 350k per hour, and the minutes are a lot lower here. I think the reason that is because as you're a higher level, you start to hit monsters like in 4 to 5 hits most times, so you're not seeing as many hits less per kill. Also, in addition to that, your attack, once it gets so high level, you're more consistently hitting. So that increase to your attack through prayer isn't going to really help you as much as it would as at a low level where you're having trouble hitting things in the first place. So that's why the minutes tend lower here, between 8 and 13, which means that the overall GP per hour you're going to have to make for it to be worth it is a lot higher for these, and it goes from 1.4 mil all the way to 2.6 with the Fire Giants. Still, I mean, at a high level, once you have like 90s, you really should be able to do like Zora or Vorkath pretty efficiently, which would still make this worth it. This doesn't account for cannons. I haven't talked about that at all, but I just assume purely melee. This will allow me to do a cannon video in the future, so if you'd like to see that, let me know. But yeah, that is basically it as far as the rates go, and it was definitely fun to look over. They're a bit higher than I figured they would be, but prayer potions are also kind of at a higher point than they've been in the long term. I mean, recently they spiked a lot, and they've kind of gone down since. Still, they're relatively high. I had fun making this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Anything you want to see from me, let me know in a comment down below. Like I said, that cannon video sounds like a good time. In addition to that, if you guys want to see more from me in the future, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also have a Twitter and a Twitch down below in the description if you want to check them out. And with that said, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day, and peace.